living La Vida low carb. This show is changing lives. We talking about your diet, trying to get you feeling right. Cut up them avocados, fry some eggs, time to explore the longest running health podcast, hosted by Jimmy Moore. Time to give up the crappy garbage, we're getting into ketosis. Every day is a new step to your goal, yeah, you're getting closer. Motivated and focused, don't stop, just go. Time to get inspiration from the Living La Vida Low Carb Show. Hey, the livinglowcarbshow.com.
So guys, that right there is my friend Sarah Genovese. Did I say your last name right?
You did.
Excellent. She is nerdy.nutrition over on Instagram. Go give her a follow over there. She has lots of great information. I love your personal coach. I love in your bio you say that you're anti-diet. I want to dig into that a little bit here in a minute because I have a suspicion of what that means, but I want to ask the horse's mouth herself. Into mindset, gut health, and she's all about empowering busy women to build a foundation for a lifelong of health and wellness. Love all of those things, by the way. So welcome.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. I am really humbled to be here talking to you. You and I think, connected over the summer when you were at the Dave Asprey biohacking conference, and you were sharing all little bits and pieces, and I wasn't able to go. And we just kind of connected and found each other, and we know that you're my person, and we just have been having some really good conversations. So I'm grateful that you asked me to join you today.
Same. Yeah. It's so funny. Like, you'll meet people online and you almost immediately know they're my people. And you were one of those people. And I remembered you because your calling card is a green heart. So if I do a comment, you leave a green heart. I'm like, oh, that's Sarah. Like, I know that. And so that was really, really cool. But tell us your story. Obviously, people that get into the health and wellness space typically have either a weight and or health issue. Was that the thing for you?
So that wasn't exactly either of the things for me. My journey kind of started when I was around 12. My mother died of cancer when I was 12, and I've always been a little bit of a nerd. I've always loved science. I've always loved nature. So after she died, I kind of started looking into as much as I could at that age about health and wellness and fitness. My grandmother was big into every workout video you could find and buy late at night on TV, or all the magazines you see in the checkout aisle with all the, cabbage soup diet and the lemon cayenne diet, all of those. She did them. She sold vitamins. So I was always a little interested in that. And as I got older, I started to work out. My cousin Jonathan and I actually bought a total gym. I don't know if you remember those, the Chuck Norris total home gym, because we were like, we need to get fit. So I've kind of always been in that space and interested in health and wellness. And it really wasn't until I got older and I became a vegan and a vegetarian, and I started having some health issues, nothing really major. Issues with my menstrual cycle, a lot of acne. I was always active, so I never had a weight issue, but I had a lot of gut issues as well, which, fast forward years later, I found out was due in part to my diet. And then probably in 2015, after my grandmother died, my husband started having a lot of mental health issues. And that was kind of where, this light bulb went off, and I realized I kind of needed to take a step back and look at my life, look at how I was eating. My grandmother had always had a lot of stress in her life, and she had a lot of heart health issues and struggled with weight loss. And right before she died, she said something to me, and it was, Sarah, all of these things that I stress out about aren't important.
Yes.
And I don't care about them anymore. Yeah. And I specifically remember folding towels one day, and I'm a total control freak and a recovering perfectionist. And I'm folding towels and I hear her saying this. And I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter how I fold these stupid towels. They're just towels. And I was like, I need to change the way I think about things. what am I doing that I can do better so that I'm not as stressed out? So my mental health is where it needs to be. So I feel better so I can help my husband dealing with his mental health issues.
Yes.
And that's kind of where I started diving in, and I found the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, which is where I graduated from with a certificate as a health coach and also a secondary certificate in gut health. And that was back in 2019 when I graduated. So I really, the last few years, have really been on a journey to get healthy, get
Yeah.
healthier, mentally, physically, all of it.
Well, and look, all that we know now about the role that gut plays in your mental health,
Yeah.
like never before have people put the dots, like tied them together, all of
Hmm.
the things that are related to physical health and mental health. Like it does go back to the second brain. Like literally
Yeah.
if you look at all of the intestines and everything around the gut, it looks like a big brain. And so it's the second brain, and there's this gut brain axis. So it's all tied. And so the fact that your husband was dealing with this issue that was related to something you had knowledge about, you just weren't putting two and two together and going, oh my gosh, no wonder.
Hmm. Yeah. And, I look back and thinking about all those years when I was a vegan and vegetarian and I had skin health issues and all of the different times I've been put on antibiotics to fix my face. I used to have pneumonia and bronchitis every year. And now, like you said, knowing what we do about the gut and how that is really the foundation for our health, we also have that gut lung access. And here I am all those years, taking antibiotics to make my skin look nice and eating a certain way because it's what I thought I needed to do to be healthy. And year after year, I'm getting these health issues. And once I really started taking care of my gut and eating for myself, for my own bio individuality, I stopped getting pneumonia. I stopped getting bronchitis. My skin cleared up. I might have lost a few extra pounds. I put on some more muscle. So the gut is really where it starts.
Yeah, and yet how many people we break up health into categories. Oh, I have diabetes, so I need to go see diabetes specialists. Oh, I have heart disease and other heart related issues, so I need to go see a
Yeah.
cardiologist. Oh, I have problems with the gut, like endocrinologist. Like we have all these little things when really at the end of the day, it starts with the food and it impacts various parts of the body, but we never address the food. We always say, well, eat in moderation and don't eat too many calories and exercise a little. We get all this kind of generic humdrum kind of advice that in my opinion does nothing but just frustrate people because it's so vague they don't actually know how to apply it to themselves.
Yeah, yeah. And if you, I'm huge into listening to podcasts, and if you start to listen to podcasts from doctors, like really well-renowned doctors, Mark Hyman, Dr. Daniel Amen, they will
Yeah.
tell you that in their medical training, they may have had just a little glimpse of nutrition, a few moments of when they were making a connection from nutrition to the body. And, speaking of brain health, Dr. Amen always says that the brain and that field is one of the few fields where they don't actually look at the brain when they're addressing mental health and brain health issues. All other doctors do. You go to a cardiologist, they look at your heart, they take images of your heart, but traditionally with any doctors that deal with the brain, they don't do that. So doctors by and large really do break up the body into all these little pieces when really it's we have to look at it as a whole.
And to me, that is a great travesty and a great gap in the care that people deserve. And we see it even in the nutritional health world. And I know you're very anti-diet now, and I want to kind of dig at that scab a little bit. What got you to that point? Because it seems like everybody in the diet world likes their camps. Oh, I'm keto, I'm carnivore,
Yeah.
I'm vegan. And it's like I've come to the conclusion I don't really like a label on what I do because what I do works for Jimmy Moore. What Sarah does works for Sarah. But why do we need to put a label on it? Because once you label it, then you're under the auspices of everybody's mentality of what that box of that thing you're talking
Mhm.
about is. So if you go outside of it, oh my gosh, no, you're not.
Right, right. How dare you? Yeah, I think part of that was, I was a vegan and vegetarian for so long, and I saw my grandmother try every diet under the sun. And, Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, Atkins, all of them. And her weight would go like this, her moods would go like this, her health would shift, and nothing ever stayed. She would do it and then go back to her eating habits. And once I went to IIN, and we go over like 100 different dietary modalities when we're enrolled at IIN, and we see everything and learn everything, and we really start to learn about bio-individuality. And like you said, what works for you, it might not work for me, and that's cool. And that was the first time I was like, I've never heard this before, but this really makes sense. Because you can look at Atkins and you can look at Weight Watchers, and there's little bits of each of those diets or thought processes that make sense and you can carry on and use throughout your life. But by and large, the reason why I'm, anti-diet and labeling is that our food and nutrition is so bio-individual.
Yes.
And when I work with clients, and I can work with, their doctors as well to try and figure out what works best for them. I love red meat. My husband laughs all the time because he's like, Sarah eats a steak for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I really don't, but it's very different from how I used to eat. But once I made that shift and changed my mindset around diet, and started to try more red meat and maybe different vegetables and, incorporating this into my diet and taking this out, I found what worked for me. And I was like, cool, for right now, this is making sense. Eating a little more red meat, eliminating certain things, I feel good. And I think that's what is important for everyone to kind of find out for themselves. Test it out, see what works.
And I think it's the confusion in the nutritional health world that turns so many people off. I mean, look, I've been an educator with low carb diets, then keto diets. I talk and dibble dabble a little bit about carnivore, but more than anything, I say find what works for you. But the big thing I get is, well, if I start keto, how much MCT oil do I need? Or if I start carnivore, here, honey is a part of that. So how much honey? And I'm just like, wow, we have
Right.
gone rails of like
Yeah.
simplifying it and making it easy for people.
Yeah, and then you have some in the carnivore space that don't, eat honey or eat any berries, and then you have some that do, and you are just a horrible person if you label yourself as a carnivore and you decide to incorporate some dark berries into your diet, or, vice versa. It's just it's really out of control in the diet world. And we just really need to kind of like reel it in and go back to basics and back to eating simplistically, eating like maybe our grandparents or great grandparents did. And if we just eliminate sugars and processed foods that are so abundant in the, the standard American diet, we're all going to be better just for doing that. And that's pretty basic.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that there is the camps. The only good thing I see about having diet camps is you find like-minded people who are doing them.
Absolutely.
You get the community aspect, and that's nothing but a good thing for the mindset. Diet. So for all my keto people, I love you guys. Thank you for kind of bonding with me over keto, and same with the carnivore people. But at the end of the day, I kind of wish we would just stop telling people we eat keto, we eat carnivore. Hey, we eat. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, we just need to eat whole foods.
Yeah.
And eliminate the processed junk. And all of that processed food, it's hard to not just go all out and eat an entire bag of something or an entire pint of something. It's all created, and millions of dollars are spent to create these things so that they're hyper palatable, so that they override our brain saying, we're full, we don't want any more, or this is too sweet. And we just keep eating and eating and eating. if you can control yourself around those things, good for you. Not everyone can, but
Yeah.
that's a huge problem too.
Well, one good start to that is getting good quality foods. I'm very fortunate that I live in a place where I can own backyard chicken. So I've got 11 babies back there, and they
That's
poop
awesome.
out breakfast. They've been doing really well. I think they like the warmer weather, Sarah.
Oh yeah.
So 11 chickens. I got 9 eggs yesterday from those 11. So they're pumping them out, and I eat a ton of eggs, so it's really good. And then I have a great farmers market that's open on Saturdays where I buy grass-fed beef and I buy pastured pork sausage and kind of various foods there. And it's like when you start feeding yourself well,
Yeah.
um, not just calorically, but from all those nutrients and everything in that food, that gives you greater satiety to kind of help ward
Mhm.
off some of that binge eating, which is what I was hearing you just talk about. But the problem people say is accessibility to said foods. And so not everybody can own backyard chickens, but
Right.
everybody can find a local farmer or at least online find people that are doing things the right way. How do we make that accessibility even greater so people feel like they can get the good stuff to get off the bad stuff?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, not everyone has access to have chickens or have a farmer's market. But I strongly believe, and I've seen it, that we really do vote with our wallets and we
Yes.
vote with our dollars. And I've noticed over the last few years how more and more, even stores like Walmart and, fast food gas stations are starting to supply things that are much healthier than what we once found there. Walmart carries grass-fed beef in a lot of Walmarts. They carry, all different types of vegetables and Kerrygold butter and all these things that you couldn't find before, organic products.
I found bison in Costco. I'm like, bison. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, Costco, Sam's Club, Walmart, they're all really starting to get their acts together and bring in some of these really healthy foods. And Walmart, you can pretty much find a Walmart anywhere. And if you go into your local store and you don't see something that you want, talk to them and tell them that there's a demand for it. And a lot of times they will listen to you and maybe have you fill out a form or tell them a specific brand. But we need to look around sometimes and go into stores probably before we're there to shop for groceries. When we have a little bit of time, look for the perimeter of the store, the vegetables, the meats, the eggs, and check to see what's there. Go to a few different stores, take an afternoon, drive around, make a little, field trip out of it with your kids and see what is available in the stores, write it down, and then when you go back out, it's going to be quicker for you to be like, hey, I know at Aldi's they carry this. I
Yeah.
know at, Walmart they have this, and then you can go on your little shopping route.
Or even go online. You don't even have to go to the
Yeah,
store. You don't have to walk
absolutely.
around the outer edges. And so be careful of that, you guys. But you could go online a lot of places. And I have an app on my phone for Sam's Club. I can literally see the entire inventory, not just in the store, but also things that I can order that aren't in the store that I could order directly from them and they ship to my house. So
Yep.
it's kind of cool. The technology has made it a lot easier to, like you said, kind of know where can I get things. And there's a few things in the middle aisles if you like, healthier dressings. I know the Primary
Yeah.
Kitchen company, they make healthier dressings and ketchups and mayos and all this kind of stuff too. But for the most part, yes, that outer perimeter is going to have all the good stuff.
Yeah, and even local CSAs, community shared agriculture. If
Yes.
you have any farms nearby or you go to a farmer's market, ask if they do community shared agriculture. Ask if they do a CSA. My husband and I have had one for several years, and you can do half or a whole share.
Yes.
And it's a little bit of money on the outset to purchase a half or a whole. But the farm near us, we get fresh produce from the beginning of June through the end of November.
Wow.
And it's awesome. So that's another suggestion, partner up with a friend or someone in your family and split it or ask them. Sometimes the farms will also do like a quarter share. So you just have to know where to look and, make a phone call.
Yeah, I did a half share. This has been like 10 years ago with a thing like that, but it disbanded because there wasn't enough interest, not enough people knew
Yeah.
about it. It probably would pick up now again, but even like the cow shares, same thing. You're putting a lot of investment. You need to buy you some deep freezers, guys, so you'll have all this. But man, you eat for a very long time, and in the end, it's much more economical than people even
Oh
realize.
yeah. Oh yeah, I've looked into buying, half a steer, a quarter steer, and per pound it's considerably less than what you would buy at the store. There are also, you mentioned groceries being delivered to your house, but there are also plenty of delivery services for meats and fish as well. I use Butcher Box, but there's Crowd Cow. There's a lot of ones that are now available, and they ship to anywhere in the country, and it just comes to your door, and it's usually less than what you would buy in the store per pound. But that's
Yes.
another great way. If you don't have it available to you in a store, you can always look for it online.
Take supplements and wonder if they're doing anything for you? Specifically, do you know your mineral levels? Wouldn't it be great if you knew what you were absorbing, what you are not absorbing or have too little of, and what you have too much of? All of this seems very complicated, but it's really very simple. Thanks to our friends at Upgraded Formulas, they have a very special upgraded hair test kit, which will test your minerals and other things in your hair, and you get a consultation with it as well to see exactly which minerals you are most deficient in. Upgraded Formulas has a stabilized nano minerals technology. I've been telling you about their magnesium that's been helping me with my sleep. Now they have a full line of products along with this upgraded hair test kit that you need to find out what your mineral content is. Again, upgradedformulas.com, and you can get 15% off of your entire order using the coupon code Jimmy at checkout. Upgraded Formulas.
And if you build relationships with local farmers, sometimes they understand and they'll work with you if you show that you're going to buy from them. We had an interesting comment. Basita says we have a small farm near us, and we eat from there from late March through September.
I love
So
it. Yeah,
it does.
exactly. And a lot of those cheaper cuts of meat too are the ones that have all the little fats and collagen in it and things that are so good for our gut health. And those are the less expensive cuts that people use in stews and, to cook longer, that you can also buy to still get all those good nutrients, but at, less of a cost.
So speaking of stews and cooking, I think one of the big things that holds people back from making healthier choices is this perception that they don't have time for it, that it's too much of an investment. And to me, it's like, what better investment do you have in your life than your health? Like, put a little bit of time into it. I know there's people that are like, oh, meal prep on Sundays and then have it all ready for you all week, and that works and it's wonderful. But then other people don't do anything and they just don't do anything. How do you help those people who claim they just don't have time for well?
It's time is just going by so quickly now, and if we don't schedule it and put it in our calendar, it's just going to go by, and time has passed and we'll have food prepped and we'll have nothing ready for the week. So I get that because I'm busy. But when I work with clients, one of the things that we really focus on is opening up your calendar,
Yeah.
finding time right now, today. If it's Sunday, cool, put it in your calendar and you actually have to do it. Make
Yeah.
a list for what you need in your pantry. I do pantry makeovers. We'll go in their house, look through everything that they have in their pantry, find, healthier options for everything that everyone in their family is eating, and then make a list. Lists are super important when you're buying food, because once you get in that grocery store, everything looks good. And then you get home and you're like, what did I buy? I have nothing to make. How am I going to take all these things and make them into a meal for my family? And food prep is great. Doesn't always work for everyone, but food prep, simplest thing you can do to prep your week and get ready with all of your food is, once you bring it home, wash everything, get the vegetables ready, wash the lettuce, get everything neat and organized in your refrigerator and ready to go, so that at the drop of a hat, if you need to make a stir fry with veggies, you open up your crisper and there are all the veggies washed and ready, and you can just chop them and throw them in your saute pan, and you're good to go. That's probably the simplest thing you can do for yourself. If you have a little more time, you could prep all of your, I'll do like a protein. I'll often get a bunch of ground beef, a few pounds of ground beef, and add olive oil and garlic to a pan and saute it, maybe add some onions and different spices, whatever I'm feeling. And then I have my protein ready to go. Sometimes I'll do rice and just throw a bunch of fresh herbs in and maybe a little lemon zest. And then I have my carbs ready to go. And during the week, I can easily make a taco. I can easily make, a bowl with rice and beef and veggies, and just doing maybe a protein or roasting some sweet potatoes and having them ready is going to be a huge, huge help when you start going through your week and trying to figure out what elements of food are ready and what I can make for dinner.
Yeah, because the last thing you want is panic that you look in the fridge and there's nothing to eat. Even though there's food there, it appears there's nothing to eat because nothing's ready to grab. And we are
Yeah.
such a convenience culture now that if you can't grab it and stick it in the air fryer or whatever, people go crazy and they're just like,
Yeah.
well, we're out tonight.
Right, and that gets expensive, and it's like having a well-stocked freezer, a well-stocked refrigerator, a well-stocked pantry is so important. And you don't have to buy all fresh ingredients. If it's not in season and it's too expensive, you can buy frozen. Frozen is going to have just as many nutrients as fresh. They pick them and freeze them, and you have it in your freezer. I always have, I even have frozen avocados in my freezer to throw in smoothies, but I'll have berries in my freezer, cranberries for my protein shakes because they're really good for gut health. Avocados in my refrigerator. I always make sure I have veggies, meat, butter. Pantry, I always have nuts. I always have almonds and walnuts. You can add those to salads. You can throw them in smoothies. You can roast them with some spices for a snack. But having a good stock pantry and refrigerator and freezer is really key to making sure you can just on the fly pull things together.
Yes. So we've been talking a lot about food for all the obvious reasons. You are nerdy nutrition, so it's like
I do love food.
about food, but you're more than just food. Well, you and I actually have a lot in common when it comes to some various lifestyle things, biohacks. We both love the ice bath.
I do. I almost took one before I hopped on here today, but I just didn't quite have enough time. But
I guess to do that, like we're both in the ice bath at the same time. Yeah.
I'm in my soaking tub, you're in yours outside, and we're just chatting on Instagram freezing. I would do it. I hopped in mine. I hopped in mine late last night before I went to bed, and I slept really well last night. I do love those cold plunges.
Girl, I was Sunday, as of the recording of this, I was out in 24-degree temperature air for like a half an hour, got really numb in the hands and feet, but was very comfortable everywhere else, never
Oh,
shivered. Then I popped into my ice bath, 32-degree ice bath, for about 3.5 minutes. I had to get out only because my hands and feet were hurting so bad from that. And then a couple hours later, I went back out. It was still 33 degrees and took a walk for 75 minutes. Do you know I fell asleep at like 3:30?
I believe it. I am often outside at all times of the year in the winter when it's cold in like a tank top or shorts, and my neighbors have 475 layers on. I must look like a complete nut outside, but you get used to it and your body knows what it needs to do, and it actually feels really refreshing.
Yeah, I had a talk in Ottawa, Canada. This was like 2018. And it was so funny because I got on the plane on shorts and t-shirt, not realizing how freaking cold it's going to be in Canada. And I get out and I'm starving, so I'm going to look for food. And I was like, hey, is there like food within walking distance? And the guy at the front of the hotel was like, yeah, but where's your coat? I'm like, I start walking, and like you said, all these people all layered and bundled up,
Yeah, yeah.
and it was snow on the ground. I was not cold.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. I mean, I think I started, dabbling in cold exposure and taking cold showers probably 2, 3 years ago. And I had a tiny little tub at the time, so that, doing the full soak in the tub wasn't really an option. But I started doing the cold showers, a few seconds at a time, and then worked my way up to 3 minutes after I was done sudsing and rinsing. And I'd turn around, get my lymph nodes, get under my arms, expose my collarbone and my back where all that brown fat is, get all the bits chilled. And I noticed an improvement in my anxiety and
Yes.
my improvement in my sleep,
Yes.
and just an overall improvement mentally with just being capable to push through challenges and not feel as stressed when challenges would come up, because it strengthens, amongst other things, it really strengthens that prefrontal cortex in your brain, and helps you be like, okay, I have a tough thing to do. My body's got this. We know what to do. We're not going to die.
Oh, I pull that all the time when somebody says, there's something really hard I want you to do. I'm like, trust me, 32 degree temperature Fahrenheit.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't get much more challenging than that.
That's hard. So what you got for me? Because I can take
Yeah,
on. It's like, come
exactly. Exactly. And it's one of those things where it's like, I talk a lot about motivation and determination. I'm rarely motivated to jump in an ice cold tub. I'm rarely motivated to take an ice cold shower, but I am, I have the determination, no, I need to do it. If I have, there have been times when I'm having like full on anxiety, and I just like, that's it, shut it down. I'm going to go take a cold plunge. I'm going to hop in a cold shower, and that snaps you out of it, and you focus and you feel better. So even if I don't want to do it all the time, I do, because I know the benefits outweigh any momentary discomfort.
yes. And like you were saying at the beginning of the show, being out in the sun right before we came on, that's a big thing too. Like we
Yeah,
have all of this incredible medicine at our disposal for free.
free. Yep.
Sun, cold, like all these things, fasting. Like, there's so many things you can do that are free. And everybody's like, oh, I want to get the latest and greatest. No, the latest and greatest is that big ball in the sky. Is
Right.
very end. Turn it down
Right.
to the can and breathe through it. And there's just so many free things, Sarah, that I think people just leave on the table. And I'm just thinking, you have riches in your health just waiting for you to tap into them, but you never do.
Yeah, I talk a lot about free health, free healthcare, and doing what you can for the season that you're in is really important. Because like you said, there's all these amazing things, technology and biohacking things that you could buy that have really good benefits, but they're also super expensive. And for those that can't afford them, which is a lot of people, easiest thing you can do is go out first thing in the morning and get that first bit of sunlight, that exposure on your eyes that helps your circadian rhythm and
Yes.
sets your day up for productivity, and gives your, mitochondria a little boost so that they're ready to go and give you energy. And then you can do the same thing in the evening, looking at the sunset, and those rays are so important for our eyes and for our brains and for our hormone production and everything. That doesn't cost anything at all. Putting your feet in the ground and getting some grounding, and, having the earth's electrons be absorbed
Yeah.
into our bodies is free, and it helps with anxiety and depression, and it just feels really good, especially when we're staring at screens all day, and we just get out into nature and connect and do something that we were designed to naturally do, and it's all free.
And one of the greatest travesties of these past 2 years with all that we've been through is the whole get clean and stay clean. Clean, you're going to avoid. No, we need to what? Get what?
We
Dirty?
need to get dirty. Yeah, we do. We need to get dirty. We need to get in the dirt and put our hands in the soil. I don't know if you grew up with a farm or a garden, but growing up, my grandfather always had a garden, and he tells me stories of how when he was little, one of his favorite memories was just going out to the garden as a little kid on his lunch break with a little salt shaker, eating tomatoes and cucumbers and just sitting in the ground, and how relaxed he was and how at peace he felt. And Now that I know what I do, there's a lot of reasons why he felt that way when he was outside. And it's so important for us, you know, like you said, spending the last 2 years sanitizing head to toe and really damaging our gut health and really doing a disservice to our immune systems by using all of this, you know, alcohol wipes and gels to kill all these germs. We're really killing the good bacteria too,
Yeah.
and breaking down, you know, our hands or skin's barrier so that we're now more susceptible to germs and bacteria. When really we just need to get out in the dirt, get dirt under our nails, you know, and boost our body's own natural immunity by exposing ourselves to different types of bacteria that are in the earth so that we can be more resilient and really do kind of what everyone was trying to do when they were slathering themselves up with, you know, the germ killing everything.
Wait is almost over. The One Step Deeper Journal, The Foundations, written by Jimmy Moore and Brittany Davis, is set to release any day now. Head on over to onestepdeeperjournal.com and type in your name and email address, and as soon as it's available for purchase, we will let you know. onestepdeeperjournal.com.
I hate to be so cynical, but it's almost like if they tell you to do something, do the opposite.
Do the opposite. Right. Right. Stay in your house. Don't hang out with people. Go outside, get fresh air, and make sure you connect with humans.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. And one of the popular trends during the last 2 years has been this whole self-care movement, and you've got a different take. You don't talk about self-care, it's self-nourishment. What's that?
Yeah, self-care is wonderful, but I think it's one of those terms that we've just used too much for too many things. And I really like to think of it more as self-nourishment. If we grew up in a nourishing environment and had a great grandmother or a grandmother or mother that really took care of us when we were sick or provided for us in any way, mentally or physically, if we think about that, that was something that was very nourishing and that nourished our soul. It nourished us as a whole being. And I think that's more of what we need to do now instead of self-care. Self-care is wonderful. I, you know, do my jade roller. I take a bath. That's beautiful and wonderful and serves a very good purpose. But we need to nourish ourselves and nourish, you know, our injured trauma, little child inside. We need to take care of them. And that comes in part by, you know, doing things such as making sure we're eating really nourishing foods, that we're really caring for ourselves, that we're taking time to make sure we sit down when we're too stressed out and relax and read a book or go on a walk if it's by ourselves, to just take care of ourselves and to give ourselves sometimes what we're lacking, but what we really need.
Yes.
in the world.
Man, that preaches what you just said. So, and you mentioned in there trauma and some of the mindset stuff. That's what helped me a lot to work. Was when you would start talking some of the mindset things and some of the personal trauma that you've been through, and how you overcome it, and parenting yourself and learning how to recognize like coping mechanisms as they pop up, and oh, well, why do I do that? And you're like yourself that tough love that you've been through stuff, but hey, it's time to put on your big boy pants and be an adult now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we all, I think, you know, and I've said this to a lot of my friends, but in 2022, if we're a human living on this planet and have lived through the past 2 years, we all have trauma.
Yes.
We have all endured something that has injured us on some level. And, you know, aside from that, we've all lost loved ones. We've all, you know, you understand that, Jimmy. And we need to sometimes be okay with knowing that we've had trauma and accepting that, because for a long time for myself, I thought I had a great childhood, and I did. But my mother died when I was 12. Then my cousin died at a very young age. My grandmother died suddenly at 78. I found out in the last few years my father died of suicide. So like all of these things throughout your life are trauma. And we all have it. And I think we all need to talk more openly about it.
Yes.
And then we all need to do things to heal ourselves. And that's not going to be, a one-time thing, or, a 6-month healing journey and then we're good, we're gold, and we never have these issues pop up again. It's a lifetime journey. We're constantly evolving and working through these traumas. And I'm constantly, I'll do something and take pause and be like, why am I saying this? Why is this triggering me? Why am I getting so worked up from this moment? And it's not usually the moment we're in that's causing that anxiety or stress or those feelings. It's from the past. And this is because our brains, when something triggers us, our brains don't realize that it's something that happened 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Our bodies are reading it as it's happening right now. So we get flooded with all of those emotions and hormones as if it's currently happening. So it's sometimes hard to take a pause, but we have to. We have to have tough love and speak to ourselves like, hey, Sarah, chill out. Go take a walk outside. Let's revisit this.
Well, as you know, I came back from a 6-month sabbatical 2 years ago. And when I came back, I had done a lot of work on myself from a childhood trauma perspective and other life events that were adverse events in my life. And so I'm starting to talk very openly about my trauma, trying to normalize it, especially for guys. Guys
Yes.
are reticent to talk about this kind of thing. Girls a little more, but it's still very, you're not supposed to talk about that. That's family secret. You be quiet. And so I've remained vocal for 2 years, and I'm very proud of that fact, because a lot more people are starting to open up now and go, whoa, like I didn't realize it wasn't just me. It's a lot of
Yeah.
people. And so we need to be very comfortable in society being able to articulate these things. And look, yeah, it sucks. Yeah, there might be people that might be hurt in the interim, but they didn't think about the ramifications of the hurt they caused at the time. So it's going to be
Right.
okay. And you're not going to win friends. I get people that criticize work a lot now. Well, you talk about all this trauma and it's a good excuse for why you're still fat. I just get that kind of thing all the time. But at this point, it is a very good causal factor, root cause that might be behind my own issue. And a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And trauma carries through generations. So there might be times when we are feeling something really heavy and we can't really pinpoint it. Maybe it's around a certain time of year, or if we're in a certain environment and we can't figure out why it's bothering us. But that's a good time, if you can, to talk to your parents, your grandparents, see what maybe traumas they went through, what traumas their parents went through, what stories they were told. And sometimes we can find a correlation, because trauma can carry up to, 2, 3 generations sometimes. So sometimes it's not even hours. And that's why it's really important for you, Jimmy, and for me to start fixing ourselves so we don't keep carrying that on and on and on.
Yes, like breaking trauma and breaking patterns, the coping mechanisms is so key. I was reading a study recently that said not only do like parents directly pass on trauma to kids, if they biologically had trauma happen to them, they're putting it into the very DNA of that kid, utero, so that when they're born, they're already born carrying your trauma, mama. And that rhymed for it too, but and then you add on top of that the trauma you induce on them. So there's some people that carry some very heavy loads And it's why I've become a lot more, not that I was ever ugly to people, but a lot more compassionate and kind for people that struggle,
Yeah.
because you don't know the load that they're carrying. And I know from my family, my dad was beaten like badly and berated emotionally, and he had an alcoholic father. Trauma, 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 trauma. He lost his own
Mhm.
sister, his youngest sister. She died when she was 22, so he was still very young. I was already born at that point. And so all these things add up to, if you don't deal with that, you're just going to repeat it. And then those kids then go on to have kids that then they carry that trauma that's not just from the parent, but from the grandparent. And it never ends.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And it's just so important, like you said, to talk about it. And you mentioned how often, for men, how they don't always express their feelings or talk about their trauma. And the same's true for women. I mean, I am an open person, but it's usually I'm open with those who are closest to me. So even for myself here, being on Instagram, I've realized that part of what I need to share is my story. And part of what I need to share is that I lost my mother at a young age, and that my husband dealt with mental health issues and suicidal thoughts and all these struggles, because it makes me real. It allows people to connect with you when you share your stories. And it helps people understand that it's okay. Like, these things are what we go through as humans, and we've all dealt with them. And here's how I've gone through these situations. Here's what I've learned, and here's what I do to push through those dark seasons when I
Yes.
am struggling.
Whew. We could talk all day on that subject.
We
I'm a
can.
very big passion for that. But I have one more kind of topic I want to hit with you before we get out of here. So, a lot of people, especially women, have a problem with body dysmorphia and body image. And I have very dear friends in my life that they're, I mean, just stunning, beautiful, inside and out, amazing. But they beat themselves up so much, their perception of how they feel about the body, that they have a very disordered kind of relationship with food, that they go through these cycles of under eating and then maybe purging or binging and purging, and then all these things that happen. And it's like, how do you help resolve all that hurt, I guess, that makes them feel that way in their mind? Is it a mental thing or is it a physical thing?
I think it's both. And first and foremost, if a client's struggling with those things, I always say, I'm not a mental health care professional, so go seek out a trained
Yeah.
therapist and include me in your overall well-being healing process. Um, but body image issues and everything that kind of deals with how we look at ourselves, personally, I've found with a lot of my clients and myself, the thing that we need to focus on is understanding how incredible our bodies are and how incredibly we were designed, and all the amazing things that our bodies are capable of doing when we give them the right tools to function properly. And if you have one of my clients, for example, my youngest client, I talk about her a lot because I just have so much appreciation and love for her. She had a lot of body image issues, but she also was involved in a lot of sports in school and wanted to be a really good athlete. So one of the ways that I connected with her and helped her to see and appreciate her own body and start treating it better was what her goals were. And her goals in sports were to be a better athlete. She played softball, she did basketball, and she just wanted to be the best athlete she could be.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about that and how what the body is capable of doing. Once she started to realize that being a better athlete was her focus and her goal, and started to appreciate what her body was doing once she started eating more protein, once she started lifting heavier weights, once she started getting better sleep, she started to look at her body differently. and have more appreciation for it and what it was accomplishing. And then she really started to form a new relationship with herself and love herself and love who she was becoming, even if it wasn't originally, or wasn't what she had originally thought she wanted to look like or what she should look like. She was now more muscular and more fit and more athletic. Before, she wanted to be skinny, lean, and all these terms that we hear, but she was like, no, this is who I am. I love this. I'm strong and I'm a really good athlete and I'm proud of that. So sometimes looking at our goals and then attaching them to our body helps us to realize that we are amazing and we can do really great things. We just have to get on that path and start eating well and changing our lifestyle.
Yes, I love all of that. I love all of that. So guys, if you like Sarah, who doesn't like Sarah? Sarah, you're amazing. She has a brand new podcast that you might want to check out, Holistic Homies. As soon as I saw that, I went,
My homies, Jimmy, you are one of those homies. Yeah, this is something I've wanted to do for a really, really long time. I took a little bit of a break the end of last year from social media and I focused on this. I have a lot of people that have so graciously accepted to be some of my first victims on my podcast. We're going to be talking about fitness and skin and lifestyle, and I have a doctor coming on to talk about the benefits of using essential oils and healing in different modalities. And I'm really excited because part of the reason why I wanted to do this was kind of to simplify a lot of things that we hear about or we see on social media or read about, and just get to the basics. Allow my guests to talk in a way that people can pick up on this information and easily apply it in their lives, and try and lessen some of that confusion, or maybe take away some of that stigma around certain topics, so that people then feel more comfortable talking to their doctors or to their friends and family about things.
I love it. And anybody that starts a podcast, I'm all about supporting them, because I've been out here doing chirp, 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 chirp thing for a very long time. So I love it when there's fresh blood that comes out and puts. I have everything figured out about podcasting. Not everybody likes me, but they might like you. So I love it. I love it.
We'll see. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see. So guys, again, that's Sarah Genovese. Check her out. Nerdy.nutrition on Instagram. And if you click on the link tree, she does have a little link there where you can schedule a complimentary eval if you want to hire her for your wellness journey. But Sarah, thank you so much for being here. I knew we would have a great conversation. Thank you for all of your kind words to me online, and I'm glad we got to do this publicly here on my podcast today.
Me too. Thank you so much, Jimmy. I really appreciate it.
Time to get inspiration from the Living La Vida Low Carb Show. Hey, the livinglowcarbshow.com.
Have you experienced the dreaded keto flu? Did you know that most of these symptoms are actually due to your body dumping excess electrolytes? This is where Element comes in. Element is a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing you don't. That means lots of salt with no sugar. Element is formulated to help anyone with their electrolyte needs and is perfectly suited to folks following a keto, low carb, or paleo diet. Element contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio, 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium, with none of the junk, no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers, no BS. Everyone needs electrolytes, especially those on low-carb diets, or if you practice intermittent or extended fasting, if you're physically active, or sweat a lot. Add Element today and see how much better you feel and perform. Use the URL drinklmnt.com/Jimmy.
Did you go keto and thought you had to give up wine? Well, let me introduce you to Dry Farm Wines. It is the world's first sugar-free alcohol that is lower than your typical wines, organic, made at local farms that do it the right way. Most of the wines that you buy are from 3 really big companies, loaded with additives and preservatives, so many dozens of those kinds of things. You don't want all that junk in your wine. So go to dryfarmwines.com/Jimmy and they will ship you these wines. And just because you listen to this podcast, Dry Farm Wines is going to give you a bottle in your first order for just 1 cent. Go to dryfarmwines.com/Jimmy and you will get your bottle of wine for just 1 singular penny. Go check them out. Dry Farm Wines, you guys. It's wine o'clock somewhere. Let's go get some wine.